And blessed to be a part of your day. Thank you all for joining us. Kevin Miller in the morning at KIDO Talk Radio. Phone numbers 580-5436, 580-KIDO. And Ray, I'm going to have to ask you to pot up our guest because my phone system is not working over here. Dr. Michael Busler joins us now. Dr. Busler, good morning.
Good morning. How are you? It's my pleasure to be here.
Well, great to have you from one coast to, almost a coast here. Dr. Michael Busler joining us, a public policy analyst, economics expert, and professor of finance at Stockton University in New Jersey. You might have seen his columns in Newsmax, LiveZet, and townhall.com. So the economy's rolling well. Are there any inroads or bumps that we should be looking out for?
Well, the economy is doing very well. Last quarter, we grew at a 4% annual rate. The current quarter, the first estimate will be out this Friday, probably again at a 4% annual rate. That hasn't happened for quite some time. So things are looking good. So what are the bumps in the road? Particularly with the Federal Reserve, they're a little bit concerned that the economy might overheat. And if that happens, then they're worried about inflation. In order to get out of the last recession, which was extremely deep, the Federal Reserve vastly increased the money supply and took interest rates down to just about zero. So that did get us out of the recession. Now they're concerned about inflation. So for the last year and a half, almost 2 years, they've been taking interest rates up gradually. And they're trying to walk a fine line between not making monetary money supply too tight so it slows growth, but not letting it be too loose so that it heats up inflation. So they're trying to find the right spot. President Trump thinks they're being a little too aggressive with that, and the president is concerned more with slowing economic growth since we do have this big expansion that we're currently in. So inflation could be an issue. The second thing we're a little bit worried about is international trade. When President Trump came into office, he took a look at every one of the trade agreements that the U.S. was in, and for whatever reason, every one of them were lopsided in favor of our trading partners and to the detriment of the U.S. For instance, the European Union, they produce a car in Germany or Italy, sell it in the U.S., we charge a 2.5% tariff. We produce a car in the U.S., sell it in Europe, they charge us a 10% tariff. So the result of that is we're buying a lot of their cars, our money's flowing out of the country. They're buying very few of our cars, very little of their money is flowing into our country. So we end up with a huge negative balance of trade to the tune of hundreds of billions of dollars every year. President Trump is not a politician. He's a business person. A politician would take a look at this problem and say, let's convene a summit sometime in the fall. We'll come up with some proposals. We'll discuss it with Congress next spring. We'll meet again next summer. We'll discuss some more things. And before you know, you kick the can down the road to the next president, which is what has happened in the past. President Trump is a business person. A business person sees a problem, especially if it affects your bottom line, and you confront the problem immediately. So President Trump went to all of our trading partners and said, listen, we have to renegotiate these things. The U.S. is on the short end of the stick. Well, every one of them said, look, we're in no hurry to renegotiate anything because we're in a favorable position. So what does a business person do when you have a reluctant trading partner? You create a sense of urgency. So President Trump, who really is a free trader and would like to see no tariffs on anything, and that's really what his goal is. I don't think he'll ever get there, but that's the goal he's shooting for. So what he said was, look, to create this sense of urgency and bring everybody to the table, I'm going to put punishing tariffs on virtually everything that I can. Since the U.S. is in a stronger position than the trading partners to absorb things like this, Trump reasoned that should bring people to the table quickly. It worked well with Mexico and Canada. The European Union has come over here and said that they're going to work toward trying to get a zero tariff policy. We have a new agreement with South Korea. We're in discussions with Japan. And, of course, the elephant in the room is China. But China is hurting much more than the U.S. is by these tariffs. I don't think it'll be more than a couple of months before China finally comes to the table and starts to talk about this. In the meantime, there will be some short-term pain from these tariffs, and that could be a problem, and it could hamper economic growth. In the long term, the new trade agreements will open up foreign markets to U.S. producers and will, in the long term, aid economic growth, but could be a problem in the short term.
Sure. Dr. Michael Busler joining us. Kevin Miller in the morning here, KIDO Talk Radio. Back to the Fed raising rates. That means
yes.
Home loans, credit cards, car loans, everything goes up. And as you said, Dr. Busler, the president was very critical of the Fed. Will the Fed react to what the president had to say?
Well, excuse me. The Federal Reserve operates autonomously, so they don't have to listen to Congress. They don't have to listen to the president. The way it works, though, usually the Federal Reserve tries to work with the president and Congress. The best I think the president can hope for is that the Federal Reserve just goes a little more slowly. Last year, they raised interest rates 3 times. This year, they've already raised them 3 times. Likely they'll raise them again in December. It's already starting to raise mortgage rates to the point where existing home sales for the last 6 months have been going down. Car sales are starting to go down also. So the raising of the interest rates, and again, the Federal Reserve doesn't want the economy to overheat, but President Trump, I think, has a good argument to say, look, I understand we can't have inflation, but also the last couple of months, the 12-month inflation rate has gone down slightly. So President Trump's view is that, look, I don't think inflation is an immediate problem. We haven't had annual economic growth of at least 3% since 2005. We haven't had annual economic growth of 4% since the year 2000. We're just on the verge of getting a full year with economic growth over 3% and perhaps as high as 4%. So President Trump's view would be let the economy grow first. Inflation doesn't look to be a problem. Let the economy grow, be a little less aggressive with interest rates, and I think we can reach the goal of having economic growth. We're already at full employment and try to keep the inflation rate down.
Well, Dr. Busler, anything else you'd like to share with us here? What impact will the economy have on the midterms?
Well, in spite of what the mainstream media says, I've been saying for the last 6 or 8 months, I think the Republicans are going to do extremely well in this election. You may remember back in the early 90s, James Carville, who was an advisor to Clinton, said, look, Clinton won because it's the economy. It's the economy is what really is on most people's minds when they get inside that voting booth. And if that's the case, so many people are doing so much better because of Trump's policies. He's cut everybody's taxes. He's reduced regulations, which allow business to grow. Many of my students for the last 10 years, they graduate. They're lucky to get one good job offer. Many of them have had to take jobs for which you don't need a college degree. And as a result of that, them taking those jobs, people without college degrees have dropped out of the labor force. Now, with the economy growing, all of those underemployed college graduates are finding jobs more suitable to their qualifications. And these discouraged workers that couldn't find any opportunity coming back into the workforce, people are starting to feel good again about the economy. I think that's going to translate into good Republican turnout and good Republican results after this election. I think the Republicans will hang on to the House. I think they'll end up with increasing the majority in the Senate, probably in the 57, 58 range, and it could go as high as 60 senators. So we'll see what happens.
Dr. Busler, we appreciate it. Thank you for joining us here this morning.
Thank you. It was my pleasure.
All right, 580-5436. 580-KIDO. Kevin Miller in the morning. We appreciate that. Let's go to R&R, who joins us now. R&R, good morning. Thank you for your patience.
Hey, Millie, Chester of the Mountain People. I'm just honored, really. I'll just lay down some voice tracks to be even on the same airways as a human. I don't even know the doctor, but how succinct and wise and should talk about syntax. Good human being. Well, my priority is, I'll say it again, I didn't leave Oregon, it left me. The gubernatorial race in Oregon, as all of us that are in the airways from Jordan Valley and Klamath Falls to hopefully Pendleton, elect Newt Bueller. The darkness and the evil that's in the governor's mansion and the governor's
You're not a fan of
office.
Kate Brown.
Oh, she's so evil. I can't even. If you look in the dictionary from 1972, there's a picture of Kate Brown under the word evil.
Now, why is she so evil?
I'm so familiar with the story of the former governor. I don't want to slander him, but he fell so deep into the dark abyss when I worked for good people, and his wife was so sweet and brought the Dalai Lama to Oregon, and it's all been downhill in the last 30 years. She came through there through attrition and hook and crook. And if we care at all about people that listen this morning, especially from Madera and Jordan Valley and Vail and Ontura, they got to get out and vote for anybody. It's almost like Hillary for prison and Kate Brown for prison. Hey, I woke up this morning to Peter Pumpkin Eater saying what was going to happen when he loses his house, and the voice of special needs Steve. You know where he was? He was lost in abyss. He was over there following the sheep out of the mountains. I've got a pair of rubber boots with Steve's DNA from Wasco County. He's a bad boy.
All right, R&R, thank you.
Hey, bye-bye.
You know, we're a family-friendly show, and the comments and views of this program are for entertainment purposes only. Phone number's here, 580-5436, 580-KIDO. Megyn Kelly in the news. Apparently, she said there was nothing wrong with wearing the blackface if you're imitating somebody famous. And now she's had to come out and apologize, and people are offended. When did we ever just, how do we put this? When did we ever just sit back and look for something to be offended by? Well, my dad has this great statement. He just says, look, I choose to be a victim. And I think we all choose to be a victim. Was that a bad call at the line of scrimmage for Miss Kelly? Yes. We'll get to that. Plus, record turnout already in early voting. This is the biggest election ever in the state of Idaho. Why? We already know who's going to win the governor's race. Or do we? Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. All right, for entertainment purposes only. So I don't know what I was doing. Oh, I was working. Yeah, they call that watching TV. So I'm sitting here looking at Chris Cuomo and Don Lemon last night, and they're going back and forth because never mind that not only there's one but two caravans coming. Not only do we talk about the fact that the Fed is raising interest rates and what that means to your pocketbook, but Megyn Kelly made a bad call at the line of scrimmage. Let's take a listen.
Costumes can go wrong is when you make it about blackface being okay. Here's NBC's Megyn Kelly.
What is racist? Because truly, you do get in trouble if you are a white person who puts on blackface for Halloween, or a black person who puts on whiteface for Halloween. Like back when I was a kid.
Well, I don't think you get in trouble if you do it the other way. Just my own opinion, but I digress.
That was okay as long as you were dressing up as like a character. There was a controversy on The Real Housewives of New York with Luann, as she dresses Diana Ross. and she made her skin look darker than it really is, and people said that was racist. And I don't know, I thought, like, who doesn't love Diana Ross? She wants to look like Diana Ross for one day. I don't know how, like, that got racist on Halloween.
Well, there we have it. So we have people denouncing Megyn Kelly. And really, we see this with this program to a degree.
I realize now that such behavior is indeed wrong. And I'm sorry. The history of blackface in our culture is abhorrent.
So Megyn Kelly was forced to apologize. Megyn Kelly finding the world of NBC very different from the world of Fox News. Now, what does this have to mean to anything, to life, to liberty, to the pursuit of happiness? Well, it shows you the world that we live in today. We are marginalized. We've been put into a closet. Look, I'm not defending Megyn Kelly and her comments, but you have to think of what you're actually saying. And now you have people denouncing her. We're going to hear from Don Lemon in a minute. It's just how crazy and wacky the world is outside of the state of Idaho. And you have people like Paulette Jordan that want to create their own little private Idaho where everybody is PC and politically correct. We saw it in Star, Idaho. Star, Idaho, you ever been there? Okay, they have a Subway, a Maverick, and they've just gotten a Bi-Mart and, let's see, a Bi-Mart. What else is the new thing in Star? I can't remember. An Albertson coming all the way, so it's a big deal in Star. And I live in Star. And look, this is your program. I don't talk about me. I talk about we. But the big deal in Star, Idaho is there's a Bi-Mart now and a Dairy Queen. Thank you very much for reminding me. So you got a Bi-Mart and a Dairy Queen. So you have a guy driving around with an American flag on the back of his pickup truck. Right? And actually, this happened in my neighborhood. One of my operatives told me about this. He had somebody come up to his pickup truck and type a note on it saying, I find your American flag offensive. So what happened? Over 100, maybe 200 pickup trucks with American flags drove through that neighborhood saying, you're not the boss of us at 580-5436, 580-KIDO. And can you believe you have people, and again, my apologies to the people that are moving here from California, but you got a bunch of libs coming in trying to tell us what to do. And we're going to break that down for you between now and 7 o'clock. By the way, Bill O'Reilly will join us at 7:35. First, traffic and weather together. Let's get you to work safely and on time.
Evans Every Gabbard.
And here we go. Let's get to Don Lemon talking about Megyn Kelly.
You have, Chris.
I don't know, but you're eating into it with your silence right now.
Because I got so much going on here. Listen, I know Megyn. We do this. Sometimes you say stupid things when you're live. But I'm just going to be honest. Megyn is 47 years old. She's our age. There has never been a time in her 47 years that blackface has been acceptable. There were all white people on that panel. There were no African Americans, no people of color there to say, hey, Megyn, not cool.
So there we have it. So, again, the fake news has the big fake controversy and looking to take down Megyn Kelly. By the way, our friend Candy, I don't know if she's listening, she emailed us on Facebook and said, Kevin Miller, yesterday you were describing a candidate's legs. Well, I think that was Pete describing a candidate's legs, not me. And if I was describing a candidate's legs, that was Brad Little's legs. And we were talking about the need to wear dresses. But I digress. Handy, if we offended you on that, we certainly don't want to be hypocrites. But that was Pete describing Paulette Jordan's legs because she was wearing a dress. I urge all candidates, well, female candidates, I don't think we've come that far here in Idaho, to wear dresses. I think that represents Idaho and American values. That is my own personal opinion. 580-5436, 580-KIDO. Coming up, just how many people are moving into the Gem State from California, the latest on the midterms, and why so many people are voting right now. What does that mean? Is that a good sign for your favorite candidate? That's number one. Number two, Bill O'Reilly. That's right. The Bill O'Reilly will join us exclusively here in the Treasure Valley at 7:35. It's going to be a great day. Sure do appreciate you waking up on the right side. Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Maggie.
Good morning, Kevin.
I don't buy very often, only when the jackpot gets really large. It's silly, I know, but I'm going to win.
It only takes one, so I could be that one.
Okay, $4, let's go.
I never really think we're going to win, but you never know. Like I said, you can't win if you don't play.
All you have to have is just one ticket.
Pretty sure it's the winner.
I came here to buy me some lucky lottery tickets at the luckiest store in Idaho.
And came prepared with my lucky numbers, so I'm ready to go.
I'm here hoping to buy a winning ticket.
I'm strict quick pick, so every time I try to pick them out myself, I never get lucky, not even close.
We've never played the lotto, so this is our first time.
Our first winning number tonight is 28. That's followed by 70. Up next we have 5. That's followed by 62. And your final wipe-off for this Tuesday evening is 65. Now for the Mega Ball. That Mega Ball number is 5. Again, tonight's winning numbers are 28, 75, 62, 65, and the gold Mega Ball is 5.
And there we have it. Everybody's a loser. Everybody's a loser, except the folks in the Palmetto State. Joining us now with analysis, not only our political expert, but our lottery expert, Tanya J. Powers of Fox News Radio. Good morning, ma'am.
Listen here, if I was a lottery expert, I would not be here today because I would have figured out how to win the thing.
Well, we're all a nation of losers today.
That's a bright and sunny way of putting it.
It's a great way to wake up to it, yes, isn't it? Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
There
was one ticket. Now, we don't know if that was purchased by an office pool or if it was one single person or anything like that, but apparently there was one ticket that matched all 6 numbers. So, yeah, either way you go, it's a pretty hefty amount. And speaking of the amount, that actually changed because we had seen that, 1.6 billion was what it had, been advertised as. That was the estimate that was going into the drawing was 1.6 billion. Once they got all the sales tallied and everything else, the lottery officials came out and said, okay, well, actually it was 1.537 billion, which I think if you're getting that kind of money, you're probably not going to quibble over that much, but it is just enough to make it not the largest in history, and instead it's the second largest.
I feel so ripped off.
Yeah, if you're keeping up with that kind of thing, that's important. Otherwise,
Well, you have to give it to the lottery companies for shrewdly manipulating us. So much so that we all go into a frenzy and we all buy a ticket, $10, $20, so we don't have that fear of missing out. And apparently, most of us did miss out. I mean, the psychology, the sociology behind these lottery people. Your thoughts?
Well, I think it's interesting what they did, a few years ago. If it's not your imagination that lottery jackpots seem to be huge now. I mean, used to we didn't see billion-dollar jackpots, right? Remember when they first started happening, we would, I remember there were stories we did on the amount of, like areas where, people were selling lottery tickets and you have the billboards that, have the jackpot amount and it automatically tallies. And then it got to be too big to fit on the sign. And they had to redo how the signs were drawn, and, people were having to put handmade signs up, because they didn't have enough numbers on the electronic one. That is not an accident, because Powerball did this first back in 2015. They changed the odds of winning the jackpot. So you went from 101 in 175 million to 1 in 292 million. Mega Millions did that last year in October. And so it's a lot harder to win the prize now. But again, you have these enormous jackpots. So if you actually ever do get lucky enough to win, you could, the chances of you hitting it really big are, a lot better, I guess.
Well, and that's really what it comes down to, is that we all buy into it, and then we all do, people do stories on it, and everybody has their dreams, and then the day after, we're all losers. Now, again, I'm not calling anybody a loser. There was somebody that said, I'm going to go buy a lottery ticket so I can tell my friends I lost $1.5 billion.
Well, that's definitely one way to look at it. I had not thought of it that way.
I was very excited. I was going to buy Fox News Radio and turn it into Kevin Miller News Radio. Change the name.
I'm just curious. Would I still have been would I have legitimately been your political analyst at that point?
Do you even have to ask?
Okay, no, I don't. Have to ask.
Based on the years we've been together here, do you really have to ask?
No, I really don't. Not at all. I would have just gone in and gone, yeah, I know my job title's changed, so you don't have to tell me.
Well, and here at the broadcast center, I would have had people dress up as superheroes. That would be their work outfits.
I like it. Do I get to be Wonder Woman?
Actually, I have a special jersey for you.
Oh, okay.
It would be from your favorite football team.
Okay.
Currently number 1 in the country in college football.
I don't think my favorite football team is number 1 in the country.
Well, what's life without a little conflict? You're an Ole Miss person. I love the Crimson Tide, so that would be. I don't know if that would constitute a hostile work environment, but that'd be really what we'd require of you.
Yeah, I'm thinking it would.
What does that say about our society today? And now you're our psychological expert. That we all want to win the lottery so we can just enjoy life.
I think it actually does say a lot, honestly, about how, we construct our lives and how we put work into everything because people are working so many longer hours. It's always been like a nice, fun thing to think about. Oh, gee, what would I do if I won the lottery? But when you have people, especially in the last 10 years since the economic downturn, you have them doing more jobs, getting paid in a lot of cases less, and working more hours. They don't feel like they can take time off. They don't feel like they can miss anything because then somebody else is going to be put ahead of them. And so it's
look at what they do to those folks at Amazon.
Huh?
Look at what those people do to the folks at Amazon. I mean, you're on vacation, and they expect you to be answering your emails and in the office. And there's a New York Times story. I don't know if you ever saw it. It was a couple years ago. Just the insanity of working at Amazon. There's a
lot of places where you're expected to. I won't say that they expect you to. That if you don't, then I don't think there's a rule that says you must answer your email if you're on vacation. But everybody knows that if you're on vacation and you are not at least checking it at some point, that there's going to be things you're going to miss. There's going to be stuff you're going to maybe wish that you'd seen and you have to deal with later.
Tanya J. Powers. I guess we'll be together for quite some time, but you never know in this business, at least on my end. I think you're pretty good.
Well, at least I don't have to wear an Alabama jersey to work, so.
Not yet, but there's always the Powerball.
You're hoping the drawing goes your way tonight, aren't you?
Something's got to go my way.
I believe it.
You have a great day, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you. You too.
Tanya J. Powers joining us. So somebody in South Carolina won the mega millions. Can you believe that? What does that really say about us? And I know we're a little touchy-feely here this morning, but we have to be. I mean, we all bought tickets. Hey, let's go to the lottery. Let's go to the Maverick. Let's go to the Jacksons. Let's go here. What are you going to do with it? Well, I'm going to quit my job, and I'm going to buy a house, and then I'm going to go do this, and then I'm going to go on the beach with the sand, and then I'm going to buy a beach. How indulgent, right? That we all are. Crazy times. And what could you have done with that $10, right? 580-5436, 580-KIDO. Here's a guy that'll tell you what to do.
You could be the first state ever to elect a state legislature where the majority are women.
Now, I have to ask you a question. And this, again, our friend Candy, she was very disappointed because Pete was describing somebody's legs. I was describing Brad Little's legs and my own legs, but Pete was describing somebody else's legs. And Pete, shame on you for that one. If you missed it, you can always go back to our show yesterday, Podcasting Extraordinaire from Ray Amaya on KIDOTalkRadio.com. So, as a man, and this is dangerous, as a man, are we on the way out? I went to a place of business. It wasn't a happy place, unfortunately. Last week. Maybe one day we'll talk about it. Maybe we won't. Very personal. And this was a place, great reputation. There were 20, maybe 30 people working in the place. Not one man. Not one man. So as someone who has been described as a cuddly curmudgeon, not really, but it's morning, so we'll go with that cuddly curmudgeon. As a man, I'm just sitting around going, where are the men? And I don't really understand where we say that women are treated differently as second-class citizens. Do bad things happen? Yes. But it seems like we're replacing men everywhere. You know, we want the women to lead the military. We want the women to lead this. I'm not saying they are not capable, but are we promoting the women at the expense of men? And then here you have President Obama, who his wife described as stinky, or his socks were stinky, or he was stinky. I can't remember what it was, and interrupted him when he was candidate Obama because she wanted to let everybody know that she, Michelle Obama, was running the show. So here you have President Obama at former President Obama at 580-5436-580-KIDO, saying it's good that a state in the West would have a majority state legislature of women. Currently, Nevada state legislature, 38% of the seats are occupied by women. Now, if they all win, 57% of the members would be women. Now, as I've often argued in language and syntax, this is an incredible double standard here, where we say, could you imagine if President Trump, former President Bush, said, we need a legislature that's majority men? Now, the other side of the argument is going to be, well, Kevin Miller, they are men, and look what they've done. I think they've done a pretty good job. I digress. Let's get back to Obama. And then it's a little different. It's a little deeper topic. Two topics here. Number one, the goofy, wacky zaniness that is the lottery. And look, the lottery, very successful. Lottery does a lot of good. We're not here to bash the lottery, just kind of to look at us as the day after and go, wow, did we really spend that money? Number one. Well, I would buy the lottery tickets because I'd do some good. You ever notice that very rarely do they ever do any good, the people that win the lottery? Look, and maybe it's just envy here. But again, the lottery does a lot of good. They do wonderful work here in the state of Idaho. So, and number two, as a man, as a woman, do you feel men are being replaced in the workplace? As I said, I was hanging out in the Treasure Valley, living the dream, minding my own business, doing my own thing. And I was at a place that there were no men.
You could be the first state ever to elect a state legislature where the majority are women. Which I'm pretty sure things will work better if you give women a chance to run things for a while.
You know, just hearing his voice, doesn't that resonate and bring back the trauma of the last 8 years? So different from what we have today.
I'm a nationalist. No, I never heard that theory about being a nationalist. I've heard them all. But I'm somebody that loves our country. And I am a nationalist. It's a word that hasn't been used too much. People use it, but I'm very proud. I think it should be brought back. I'm somebody that wants to help other countries of the world, but I also have to take care. We have to take care of our country. We cannot continue to allow ourselves to be duped on military and also duped on trade.
Let's get back to that in a minute, though. Former President Obama saying that women should take over Nevada at 580-5436-580-KIDO. President Trump saying he's a nationalist and now being smacked by the press. But I'd like to get your thoughts on the idea of our men becoming obsolete, or am I just an overly sensitive male? Well, everybody chooses to be a victim. And don't forget, Bill O'Reilly joining us at 7:35 on 107.5 FM, 580 AM. You don't want to miss that. And if you do, we'll tell you how you can hear it anytime on demand. Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. You know, thank you, Ray Amaya. I just love that song, and we've been playing that for many, many years. And a lot of people go, Kevin, what is that song? It just defines the era that we're in. And believe it or not, it goes back to Hulk Hogan's theme song. You know, the wrestler Hulk Hogan. If you don't, you can YouTube him. And that was put out by the then WWF, now the WWE. But to me, when I hear that song with the president, it really resonates when we're talking about what this program is about, real American values. I want to thank Ray Amaya, A, for putting that together, and B, saying, look at what the Democrats are doing here. I mean, instead of electing people on their qualifications, Obama says that they should be elected because of gender or because it's the first this or that. Now, coming up next hour, we've got Bill O'Reilly joining us, and I'm going to try not to be a fanboy geek on that. To me, the best ever on television, bar none, Bill O'Reilly. He's going to share his insights of his new book, Killing the SS. Plus, maybe we'll get him to talk about a few other things. Number one. Number two, there's an election going on here in the state of Idaho. You hear the folks at Channel 7 promoting their debates and doing what Channel 7 does, having the most debates, the most insight. That's why they're our news partners. When you hear Channel 7 on the radio, you're listening to KIDO Talk Radio, just like Fox News. And this is a record year, people already voting. And, you know, as we've said, we're the only ones in the Treasure Valley. Heck, the only ones in the state of Idaho saying the race is over. Brad Little is going to beat Paulette Jordan. Now, this next debate on Channel 7, I don't think it's even going to be close. I think Paulette Jordan is going to come out swinging, and maybe some consultants will say some things, the Democratic nominee. But let's face it, when you call someone your predecessor, when you mean your opponent, and you can't even get the definitions right, that undermines your credibility. And by the way, Candy, I surrender, okay. We will not be talking about male or female legs anymore. We're not going to be hypocrites. We're not going to be like everybody else. You're right. Thank you. Although it was kind of funny to talk about promoting dresses. I digress, which is, again, whether or not female candidates should be wearing dresses or pantsuits. I guess it's your own personal preference. And thankfully, Dave Burnett will save me from this segment.